Hi guys, look at this sentence that I put up here. Everything was new to me, but I have remembered what happened. Does that sound correct to you? Everything was new to me. So that's simple past, talking about a time in the past. But I have remembered what happened. That's present perfect, which means before now, so it's not in the past. So that can't be correct. Everything was new to me, but I remembered what happened. How about this one? I didn't felt it. I didn't felt it. Okay, well, we have the helping verb, the do. The helping verb always takes the tense and relates in number to the subject. So, since the helping verb is in the past tense, the main verb doesn't need to be. So we would say or write, I didn't feel it. I was usually walking around the lake by my home. I was usually walking around the lake by my home. So we're talking about something that you regularly did in the past. So there's no need for progressive. I usually walked around the lake by my home. I usually walked around the lake by my home is the correct way to say that. I went to a movie I cut it off. I went to a movie last night. I drove to work this morning. I drove to work this morning. The students studied together last weekend. The students studied together last weekend. I didn't finish all my homework yesterday. I didn't or did not finish all my homework yesterday. My mom was talking on the phone when I arrived. My mom was talking on the phone when I arrived. The students were sitting at their desks when the teacher entered. The students were sitting at their desks when the teacher entered. When I got home, my dogs were sleeping. When I got home, my dogs were sleeping. At this time yesterday, I was playing with my kids. We use the simple past to talk about something that happened in the past and it's finished now. It has no connection whatsoever to the present. Often with the simple past, you'll see time words that show the specific time that something happened and finished in the past. So you'll see time words like last night, last week, last year, in 1984, last Tuesday, last month, yesterday, 2 weeks ago. Okay, to show that that happened in the past, it's finished. Now the past progressive, did you figure out the rule? So the past progressive, we use the be verb in the past tense and then the main verb with the ing. The past progressive is talking about something was happening or something was in progress at a specific time in the past. So if we're talking about present progressive, we're talking about what are we doing right now? I'm sitting, I'm talking, I'm making a video. Past progressive, it's the same thing, but we're talking about what was happening, what was going on at this time in the past. So look at my 3 examples here, where we have the first action, the students were talking. Second action, Kelly walked into the room. So the students were talking when Kelly walked into the room. Okay, So the students got there first. They were talking. Kelly walked into the room. They continued talking. That action, the students were talking, was in progress at the time that Kelly walked into the room. Look at the second one. It was raining. I left home. When I left home, it was raining. Or it was raining when I left home. So it was raining. I got my coat. I got my umbrella. I put my hood on. I left home. And it was still raining. So at the time I left home, it was in the process of raining. She was watching TV. She finished her grammar homework. So while she was watching TV, she finished her grammar homework. So she was watching TV, doing her grammar homework. She finished her grammar homework and she continued watching TV. So that was in progress. She was watching TV at the time she finished her grammar homework. So you can ask your classmates different questions using the past progressive and the simple past. So you can ask questions about things that were happening or things they were doing at specific times in the past. For example, what were you doing at 8 o'clock last night? What were you doing at 7 o'clock this morning? At 7 o'clock this morning, I was helping my children get ready for school. What were you doing when Kelly got to class today? What were your coworkers doing when you got to work this morning? What were you doing when your plane arrived in the U.S. when you first came here? What were you doing when you decided to study at Harper College? Maybe you were researching different colleges on the internet when you decided to study at Harper College. What were you doing while you were eating breakfast this morning? Maybe you were watching the news and eating breakfast at the same time this morning. What were you doing while you were driving to school this evening? Maybe you were listening to the radio while you were driving to school this evening. So you can ask people questions about what was happening at specific times in the past. You can also see if people were doing the same thing that you were doing at specific times in the past. In writing, the past progressive isn't used all that often. It's used, but not as much as we would use the simple past. But think about if you're writing a story or something that happened in the past, either to you or someone else, or even a fiction story. We would use the past progressive to describe what was happening in a moment in a story. So, for example, if I was going to tell a story about my day, maybe something a little more interesting, but I could start with, I stepped outside, the birds were singing, the sun was shining, my neighbors were walking together with their dogs down the street. I saw some people walking their children to school. So I'm describing the scene. I'm setting the scene by talking about all of those things that are happening at that moment that I walked out my door. Okay? And as we continue a story, when we're discussing events that happen one after another, that's when we're going to use the simple past. Okay, so this is just a little introduction to the simple past and the past progressive to go along with some other activities that I'm going to have you do and look at.